Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in to tonight's presentation of the Challenger Racing League Challenger Cup Series race number 2 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. It's round 2 of this series as we get you set for more action in the Challenger Cup Series, coming off an incredible couple weeks at Daytona. Tonight we transition over to Atlanta Motor Speedway, where tonight's race will see 16 drivers take to the track. Unfortunately, we got to make it kind of quick because tonight's event, I got a little bit of a late start, so we are going to make it kind of quick. We are in the 8TL, much as NASCAR was on the reconfigured Atlanta Motor Speedway, for some plate-style racing here at what used to be a tire grinder, now is turned into a plate race. Now, tonight's race will not be quite exact to what you saw on Sunday afternoon in the NASCAR Cup Series, as this track doesn't age. They have not done a virtual scan of this track in its current formation, but this is dating back to its 2022 formation. So pack racing, close, tight quarters racing, big runs, big moves, and everything happens faster because it's on a smaller battlefield. Let's get down immediately trackside and get things underway. 130 laps on the board tonight. It's actually 17 cars that will take the grid. And speaking of the starting grid, let's get down to business here on PGR eSports. My name is Dawson Wise. Glad to have you with us here on a Tuesday night for some more racing action. Getting down to business, starting grid from Atlanta Motor Speedway as cars roll off of the grid and down into the banking of turn number 1 as we get one pace lap under our belts. Justin Malarkey qualifies on the pole, a lap of 31.405 seconds to his outside Rusty Modesty in the 6 machine. Row 2, Matt Hayden in the 5, looking for a better run than he got last week in Daytona. Christian Schrader in the 29 as well. In that race, his Ford Mustang looking to get a little bit better luck than he had last week on the high banks. Row 3, GT Irizarry had a really good couple of speed weeks and comes now to Atlanta with some hot momentum in the 14, a podium finish last week. Travis Everett in the 13 as well, a podium finish. He comes out in 6th for this one. Row 4, Stephen Luttrell in the 82, Steve Ponder the 94, looking to get their seasons going here tonight. James Coitrone in the 38 will roll 9th, and Andrew Little will roll from 10th. Row 6 will feature last week's winner, Harold Watkins in the 3 machine and Greg Bourbonier in the 00. Row 7, John Velocity in the 84 and Brandon Beauchamp in the 15. Row 8, Jimmy Fitzmaurice in the 33 and Mike Martino III in the 75. And rounding out the field tonight is the 54 of Cody McCormick, making his season debut here in the Challenger Cup Series Season 1 of 2025. Unfortunately, not going to have time to do any race info. We got to get down to business here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, but we will have all the action for you over the next 130 laps. It's time to get going. It's finally time to get back to Challenger Cup Series racing. Week 1 provided such a great amount of action for this series, and Week 2 shortly will provide more of the same. Justin Malarkey in the 73, Rusty Modesty in the 6 bring the field off turn number 4 and down into the Geico restart zone for the first time. Green flag is in the air. We're underway from Atlanta. Lap 1 complete, lap 2 on the board. They're going to go by really quickly tonight at the Atlanta Motor Speedway as you got a wide shot of the field through the higher bank, turns 1 and 2 from 23 to 28 degrees of banking when NASCAR and Speedway Motorsports made the decision back in 2022 to reconfigure this facility into a mile-and-a-half version of Daytona and Talladega. A super speedway style event is what they wanted to do, and so far it has provided for some great racing Sunday afternoon. What a race in the NASCAR Cup Series that we saw come all the way down to the wire, and we were a few feet short of having a 3-wide finish, much like last year. And speaking of 3-wide, it's James Coitrone in the middle of that 3-wide. Schrader and Modesty are topside. Rim riding in that 3-wide. Schrader will stay up there. Modesty will drop down. And Schrader now stuck in that sucker hole, but now Modesty drifts back up, gives a little toe. Where does Travis Everett go? He'll stay in the middle, and it'll stay 3-wide back around these 3 cars as the top 5, 6, 7 cars have gotten themselves sorted out, but these guys back here trying to make moves, trying to go forward, have yet to do so, and Schrader continues to try to ride the rim, get to the high rent district on the safer barrier, and make his way forward. And the rest of the field, for the most part, besides Modesty, has now singled out, besides these guys back here. As Brandon Beauchamp, the Traveler Whiskey Chevrolet, works the bottom side, along with Bourbonier. Schrader and Coitrone now with no help are going to go backwards all the way to the back of the field as they side draft each other. And back down towards turn number 1. Schrader now will work into line behind the 38 of Coitrone, and we will work single file around this racetrack. Is already 4 up and down, 5 on the board. And we look now towards green flag strategies as guys start to save tire. Guys start to work towards the latter stages of this race. And we saw this last week in Daytona. We'll see it again here tonight. And Atlanta Motor Speedway, 130 laps to the conclusion of lap 33, the quarter point. We'll have a stage break tonight, so we await that. For now, the field was single file, but now trouble out back. Rusty Modesty appears to be the start of this one, and a couple of other cars involved as well. Perhaps Mike Martino, the Cracker Barrel Chevrolet. Greg Bourbonier, severe damage to the Miller Lite Toyota Camry. And Jimmy Fitzmaurice catches some damage as well in the Genesee Beer, number 33. So a caution flag, which one of our first for incident in this season of racing. Didn't have a lot of these last week, but 7 laps in, we're going to come to a halt here at Atlanta Motor Speedway as we had some troubles towards the back of the field. And I think Rusty Modesty is going to be, actually, no, it's not. It's going to be up in front of Modesty, and it's going to involve Cody McCormick, as well as the 33 of Jimmy Fitzmaurice. So let's take a look back. Let's see kind of how this one got sparked up. McCormick going for a move, coming from 17th starting position. He looked for a move here on Fitzmaurice, and as he lunges to the inside, let's see if Fitzmaurice cuts the gap off or if maybe the 54 misses his entry. He's about half a lane off the bottom, but it's a pretty natural line, and they come together in the same piece of real estate. Fitzmaurice goes for a slide to his left, and then unfortunately he's going to hook this car back up into the field. And there's going to be some big hits here. Modesty gets a big hit right there, and Bourbonier gets the biggest one right there. A monster hit to Fitzmaurice, and those two cars nowhere to go for those two. I think Martino and the other cars at the back, I think, were able to maneuver around this incident. But these three, Modesty, Fitzmaurice, Bourbonier, unfortunately, are some of the first severe incident-affected cars this entire season. Taking another look here from the tower camera up on top of the press box, and you'll see what I mean here. The 54 makes a lunge, and it's a fair move. There's a lane there, and as Fitzmaurice, he goes to turn in the corner, following that line in front of him. I'm not sure, maybe it just happened too fast. And Fitzmaurice turns down the hill right across the nose of Cody McCormick, who was lunging for that spot, trying to go forward. And unfortunately for Fitzmaurice, that thing grabs the racetrack and hooks right back up. Modesty, big hit to the outside wall. Big hit there for Bourbonier. Fitzmaurice goes up in the air. And these three cars are the unfortunate recipients of some of the first damage of the night. We'll actually go to an onboard now of Cody McCormick, excuse me, I just called him Cole. That's my fault. It's Cody McCormick. We'll go to an onboard now, and I'll kind of show you exactly what I mean about how fast this happens. So he's in line here. We're going to go all the way back from the middle of turns 3 and 4. Now, watch how fast this develops. McCormick is going to see this move, and he probably had planned it already. He sees Fitzmaurice drift a little bit. He's like, okay, I'm going to drive to the bottom, and all of a sudden the gap is closed. There's no opportunity for McCormick to jump on the brakes and get out of that position. You can jump on the brakes, but once the contact is made, there's not a whole lot you can do if you're Cody McCormick there. He lunges for the move. He's got a lane. Could argue it's a little aggressive this early in the race, but the lane is certainly there. McCormick turns in, and Jimmy Fitzmaurice turns down the hill right across the nose of McCormick, collects Modesty and Bourbonier. They both come to get their fast repairs. In fact, all three of those cars may have taken fast repairs, and we're under our first caution of the night. Getting ready to go back green. Justin Malarkey, Matt Hayden on the front row as we get set to go back under the green flag at Atlanta. 9 laps on the board already. 33 will be our stage break. 130 is our race distance tonight. And again, if we get into a green flag run, they'll go quickly. Just like last week, they'll go very quick. We'll be to the end of this thing here in no time. But glad to have you with me here for a Tuesday night, a busy Tuesday night tonight on PGR eSports, by the way. The Grindstone Development Truck Series with my colleague Austin Green is going on, should be right about now, if not long from now, over on the PGR eSports Network on another stream. And then a little bit later on tonight, about 10, as we're wrapping up here, a little after 10 o'clock, it's going to be the return of Ron Morris Racing's Tuesday Night Thunder, and Michael Triscaro will have the call for that one. I'm really piqued. I'm really interested. My interest was piqued to see that series come back and to see what's going to happen this season. It should be a fun one. Tuesday Night Thunder, some of the best racing in the money racing scene was Tuesday Night Thunder up until its last season ended, and it's been in a bit of a hiatus over the last couple months. It comes back tonight on the PGR eSports Network with Michael Triscaro. Green flag back in the air, lap 10 on the board. Malarkey, a good start with Irizarry on the bottom. Watkins, a Callaway scheme aboard the 3 tonight. Bit of a different colorway, black, white, and green aboard that 3. The number is still the same. And he jumps in line in third on the outside. He's going to be Hayden with Luttrell, Velocity, and others as they try to get that top lane going, but not a lot of success so far. Maybe because guys aren't willing to make moves yet, aren't willing to push the issue much yet. But on both starts now, the initial start now, this restart, the top 4 cars on the bottom have gotten clear, and this time there is going to be some movement. Andrew Little, the bumper of Matt Hayden, will be one of the first moves out of line in this race. Little wants to go to the front. He's got a good pusher behind him in Matt Hayden, and that car starts to gain some traction now, and now the outside starts to gain a little bit of ground. But But it continues to be Justin Malarkey, but not for long. Irizarry to the bumper of Little. Almost went too far. Slid right across the bumper of the 68, and that's going to actually stop their momentum now as Little tries to get recentered. But that top lane will try to continue to attack these leaders. It still will be Malarkey that's led every lap of this one so far. Watkins settles into second, Velocity into third, and now the biggest mover is Beauchamp along with Velocity, both plus 10 on the night, into second and third positions respectfully. Outside really struggling to get going here with Irizarry, Little, and Hayden. It was going with Little and Hayden. It's not going as much. Now Watkins to the outside of Malarkey. He brings Beauchamp with him. Beauchamp hops back in line. Watkins will utilize that side draft to jump alongside the 73. Lead for a moment. Will he lead the lap? No, he will not. Give that lap to Malarkey again. He's led all 12 to this point. Watkins will follow the help of Little and Hayden on the outside. Irizarry dropped in fourth in line on the bottom. Behind Beauchamp, in front of Everett, his teammate. Outside still struggling just a little bit to get going. Now led by Harold Watkins, and now will again be led by Irizarry, who jumps out of line. Thinks better of it. He's kind of hanging between the two, trying to wait for the run to come to him, and it's not going to. And will he try to do it again here into one? A pretty good passing zone if he can get the run. No, he will not, because that outside continues to struggle. The outside lane has really not found a foothold yet tonight, which is interesting to me. This build of Atlanta, the outside is good if you got the right cars up there and just have yet to find a combination that works on that outside line to get it alongside the leaders. So Justin Malarkey is able to, pretty easily control this race. You see the field fly by the start-finish line and into one. Justin Malarkey is able to pretty well control this entire race, because the outside hasn't had much of a challenge, and John Velocity not quite as apt as a couple of others like Watkins and Irizarry to jump to his outside. Is rather just going to push here on the back of the 73. Beauchamp has been leaning about a lane higher than the leaders. That is to save some tires and make your arc into the corner a little bit less shallow. In order to not put as much wheel input in, you're kind of giving the tires an opportunity to rest instead of putting more pressure on them. Outside now led by Travis Everett, who is sixth on the racetrack. But again, they just have not made up a ton of ground. About a car, maybe a car and a half is as far as they can go. Now they get up inside the top five for a moment. But they're going to need a couple more cars up there. And they just have not been able to find anything yet in terms of momentum. Irizarry going to hang. Oh, no, trouble. Around goes Brandon Beauchamp. And he's going to come back up. Bourbonnier, Coytrone, McCormick, and others in front. A big wreck, the biggest of the season, strikes on lap 17, and it's a carbon copy of caution flag number 1. As Brandon Beauchamp, they're still wrecking up here in front of Beauchamp. Irizarry is involved, Coytrone is involved, Bourbonnier, Matt Hayden, and Bourbonnier, I believe, is going to call it a night in the 00. Will be one of the first casualties of the race. But this was an almost identical, oh no, Matt Hayden, rear wheel's not spinning on the Oakley Chevrolet either. Let's go back, because this was a very similar looking incident to the one we just had a moment ago in our first caution. Beauchamp had been leaning that half a lane up the last 5 laps or so to save some tires, and Irizarry takes advantage. He lunges here going into one, and as he gets to the left side door, Beauchamp comes down the track right as he's turning in the corner to follow that line. He turns down across Irizarry's nose. And again, I thought maybe for a second he was going to save this, but exactly as Jimmy Fitzmaurice did, he hooks it back to the right and just clobbers Greg Bourbonnier. Hayden almost got by it. Coytrone, oh my goodness, a monster hit for the 38 as his rear wheels got 5-6 feet up in the air. McCormick gets in it, and then they wreck further up as well with Matt Hayden. As the 5 collects Irizarry some more. Steve Potter almost gets involved in that. So you see McCormick in it as well. In the 54, it's his second incident of the night. This one he's going to incur a little bit more damage. GT Irizarry in it as well. And Fitzmaurice, he's just trying to bob out of the way. As he just got a clean car, he's able to do so. But other guys not quite as lucky. We'll go up top, and I'll try to give you another example of what I'm talking about here with just, and again, if our camera will actually give us a good angle. I think it will as it comes out from behind this press box. Look at Irizarry. There's the lunge. It's literally the same move that we had just seen McCormick make on Jimmy Fitzmaurice. And again, the second time is exactly the same result, where Beauchamp, I don't know if he doesn't get a clear call, if he doesn't register that there's a car there. Maybe it's a weird spot to kind of have a car try to pass you, especially on a super speedway. So maybe you don't register that there's a car there, and he goes to turn in the corner like he'd been doing for the last 5 laps, and all of a sudden now there's a car about a nose inside of you, and unfortunately there it's the same result, literally a carbon copy. He went to the left off the bumper of Irizarry, hooked it back to the right, and got into the field. This one was a lot more consequential. I mean, this one was a big wreck. See if our TV static cam got a good view of it. I don't know if it did. It might have. You see right here, he turns down in the corner, and same result. You see the crash. We got Hayden going right across the camera. As Coitron rolls to a stop along with Beauchamp and others. And we go under our second caution of the race on lap number 20. 13 laps prior to the end of the stage. McCormick is going to actually keep the damage on that race car, but Matt Hayden has gotten his fast repair. Rusty Modesty is out with damage as well. James Coitron is 1 lap down. Jimmy Fitzmaurice is now also 1 lap down. And Greg Bourbonnier will sit on pit road and fix the race car. He is already, I believe, at least 2 laps down, maybe more, as he sits on pit road awaiting service on that battered race car. A really bad start, gone worse for Greg Bourbonnier, and obviously he did not want that to be the way his night started. He'll have to try to rally here later in the race. 13 laps to go in the first and only stage of the night, with Malarkey and Velocity now on the front row. Everett Luttrell on row number 2. Harold Watkins, Christian Strader, row 3. Then it's McCormick, Steve Potter, Brandon Beauchamp, Mike Martino, the top 10. Andrew Little and GT Irizarry, the last 2 cars on the lead lap, 11th and 12th. Again, the cars 1 lap down. Hayden, Modesty, Fitzmaurice, Coitron. Green flag will go back in the air. 13 laps to go in the opening stage, as Malarkey and Velocity will race door-to-door down into turn number 1. A little bit more even now are these 2 cars, and now you wonder, does the outside find some advantage? Now the field is split up just a little. Bottom line has help from Everett and Watkins. Top line has help from Luttrell and Strader, and now this time they even out that bottom lane as they work their way up the banking in turns 3 and 4. Velocity alongside for the race lead. The biggest challenge that Malarkey has gotten to this point, give that lap to John Velocity in the 84, new leader for the first time tonight at the start-finish line. Malarkey led each of the first 21 laps. Velocity leads lap number 21 itself, and now jumps down in front of that line. Watkins joins the outside line, and now they will try to cycle another guy forward. This time it's Stephen Luttrell. Not able to keep that line as tightly contested here as the initial jump to the outside were. Malarkey's been really, really good, and wherever he's been, the leader, the pusher, he'll go to the outside again. Strader will actually leap a line further and look 3 wide, but not much going there. Malarkey goes right back around Velocity and back to the lead, and now will lane manage just a bit here in 1 and 2. Coming to 10 laps to go until the stage. More cars joining the fray out back. Beauchamp, Potter, Andrew Little, Irizarry and company still back there as well. As we come back, 10 laps to go in the stage. The battle for the Lucky Dog going to be interesting to note as well, with Modesty, Hayden, Coitron, and Fitzmaurice involved in that. Back down to turn 1 now, single file again for the entire top 8 cars that are in this lead pack. That second pair of cars, Andrew Little, GT Irizarry, has caught up, and they've actually brought those lap cars with them, and this could get really interesting if Modesty, Coitron, Hayden, or Fitzmaurice try to mount a charge to the front, try to get their laps back the hard way. Do they have the speed underneath those engines to be able to do that? Malarkey leads another lap that time by. He's dominated this race, led all but one of the opening 25. As Luttrell rides in line behind him, and Strader is 3rd. Velocity, Everett, Beauchamp, Little, Potter, Watkins, Irizarry. That's the lead lap cars in this pack, and then those 4 lap cars are in this pack as well. Mike Martino III, Cody McCormick had lost the draft. Jimmy Fitzmaurice has as well. 8 laps to go, stage number 1. The conclusion of lap 33. We'll see the stage break. As Justin Malarkey continues to lead here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He's again been very dominant to this point. But Velocity is contended well, +9 on the night. Beauchamp is +8. Going to be really interesting here to see if the field catches Cody McCormick before this stage break caution, because if so, it's going to make the... Oh, man. Harold Watkins, Andrew Little just went all the way to the wall back there around 8th position. They got it sorted back out, but that was a big hit to the outside wall for one of those cars. Looked like the Watkins machine. As they start to get the outside mounted onto a charge. If the lead pack catches McCormick, which it'll be very close, it's going to be very interesting to see when they catch him and how much time that the lap cars have back there towards the tail end of this pack to get around that lap machine of McCormick and salvage a lucky dog. Because if they aren't able to, if he's able to slot in line or barely get past at the end of the stage, he's going to receive the lucky dog instead of those 4 cars, or 3 cars rather, that run with the lead pack. So going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Further back, Everett mounts a charge back around the 6th position to try to get this outside working towards the lead. 5 laps to go in the opening stage. Little has to lift, almost split the 13 machine, and their momentum going to be stopped here for a moment. But they are trying to mount a charge forward now to get to these leaders. The top 4 have driven away just a bit from this second group, as this outside tries to go back to work and get back to the race leaders. Malarkey, Luttrell, Strader, Velocity are your top 4 that are pulling away just a little bit from the cars 5th on back. With only 4 laps to go in the stage. 30 up on the board, 33 is our stage distance. And that group is really losing time now. They actually have started to gain it back just a little bit. Has that group behind the leaders, so the top 4 not able to drive away completely. But they were trying to for a moment. That Everett line has gained some ground now. They're going to be contending here in just a moment, but how much time do they have? The answer is not much. 3 laps to go in stage number 1 when we get back to the line. Malarkey at the stripe still continues to lead. He's led 30 of 31 laps tonight by the time they get back around to the start-finish line. A really dominant effort, and you don't see this a lot at super speedways with the amount of lead changes that we have. You don't see these kinds of efforts where guys lead a bunch of laps. Malarkey is doing so right now. Hasn't had to face a tough challenge quite at this point in the race. Coming back, 2 laps to go until it's the end of stage 1. .32 on the board. You can hear the motor of Cody McCormick. It's going to be very close. He's about 3 seconds in front of the leaders right now. Beauchamp jumps in front of Everett, but that line stalls big time back around Brandon Beauchamp. Oh, Rusty Modesty contact with Steve Potter. The entire field checks up back there. Everybody's able to keep it going. Big lifts going on out back. Coming back, 1 lap to go. Stage number 1. All Justin Malarkey up front. With Luttrell in line, and they've just lapped McCormick, and they'll all get by. So no harm, no foul for our lap down machines and Modesty, Hayden, and Coitron that were with this pack. But now they'll race for that lucky dog. Hayden to the outside. Here comes Strader with Velocity. 1 run for the stage win. Strader will get alongside the 82. I don't think he'll have the power to get alongside the 73. He will not unless Velocity gives him a monster push. He'll get second, but that is all. And as we await the caution flag, stage winner, Justin Malarkey. So Malarkey is able to win the opening stage, leading 32 of 33 laps in that stage. Velocity led that lone lap earlier. Malarkey on track with under 100 to go. Already the most dominant car of the race. Qualified on pole and has not left the front. The one time he got past, he went right back to the outside, made it happen, and jumped back down in line. By far the car to beat in this race. As we are now under the caution flag for the end of stage number 1. They will undergo pit stops under this caution flag, the lucky dog will be Matt Hayden in the Oakley Chevrolet. See the new pit entry that NASCAR instituted. No speed limit up until you get to the yellow cone, and that's unlike NASCAR. NASCAR, these timing lines out here, you actually have to be 45 all the way around under caution, but in iRacing, not quite there yet. So no speed limit on pit road, and these guys will come to pit road and get some service. Matt Hayden will stay out to get the lucky dog. James Coitron will stay out to get the wave around. And as these guys hit pit road, as these guys come to their service, we're going to hit a quick break, a quick commercial break. You won't miss a thing. We'll go side by side to cover the end of the pit stops and the re-rack of the field. We'll be right back on PGR eSports Network for stage number 2.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. 3 by 3. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got the monkey has prime! This season, we are hydrated!
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time! Oh, that's good.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway as we get prepared for the restart as the lights have come on here in the Peach State. We will race into the nighttime hours now over the final 93 laps of this race. Stage 1 done and over with. A stage win for Justin Malarkey, but the pit cycle has moved Travis Everett and Andrew Little in front of the 73, and they will control the restart as we get back going here on lap number 38. 93 laps to go in Atlanta. Green flag is back in the air, and away we go towards turn number 1. It's a good start for Everett, a better start for Malarkey. The outside not up to par yet. Malarkey took a quick, very quick peek at 3 wide, thought better of it. Probably the smarter decision for the 73. The outside is only Little and Schrader. Luttrell is going to follow in line down the back straightaway and down towards turn number 3, and so too will Velocity. Ooh, boy, that was close. Andrew Little, Malarkey, you saw it right there in the middle of your screen. They were about a foot apart there as we went into turn number 3. A very, very slim margin for error at Atlanta. Everett onto the apron. It's going to allow Malarkey to get to his right rear, and back to the lead goes the 73. And that 73 machine of Malarkey has been so good all night long. And he's good again right now. Back to the point. Goes Malarkey. A couple laps led for Everett. Under that caution, will be Malarkey. Oh! Trouble for Stephen Luttrell. A technical issue, maybe an engine issue perhaps to the 82. Let's see if he gets back going. We'll keep it here for a moment. He will not come to pit road, so it must not have been an engine issue. It must have been some kind of either technical issue or a checkup or something happened there. To the bottom goes Andrew Little, and now Malarkey in unfamiliar territory, getting threatened for the lead here as he's on the less dominant outside line. Little pushed by Irizarry and Beauchamp, and Everett and Velocity. On the outside, Malarkey will power to the race lead with the help of Christian Schrader, and will try to tow the Reese's Mustang Dark Horse along with him. On the outside of the racetrack up in that high rent district along the safer barrier, Little guiding that bottom lane onto the apron, trying to cut a little bit of time in the quad oval, but unable to do so. Malarkey will continue to run right up against that green safer barrier, and it's allowed Christian Schrader along with Steve Potter and Harold Watkins to kind of come along with him. They're both clear to the bottom now, where these top two cars. They go back to the inside. No, they do not. Potter thought about the middle. Hadn't seen anybody go to the middle yet, try to shoot that gap, but nobody's going to do it yet. 89 laps to go as the field works off turn number 4. Really good racing right now. Malarkey gets a shot there from Schrader going into one. Irizarry will lock bumpers here with Andrew Little and try to bring him back alongside. Still side by side for the lead, with Malarkey on the outside and Little nosing ahead on the inside. Back onto the back straightaway again. Very quick runs, very, very fast. Everything is kind of multiplied from Daytona and Talladega. You have more space, and the runs kind of take longer. Everything takes longer to happen. At Atlanta, you don't have that luxury. Everything happens faster. It's in a bit smaller environment, which means all the runs are bigger. All the moves are quicker. They take less time to develop, so you don't have as much time to think or react here at Atlanta. 3 wide back around Brandon Beauchamp as he got stuck in the middle. He's trying to go to the top side and rim ride, and he will jump in behind Velocity. Schrader got the wall. All kinds of out of shape was the Reese's Mustang. But he will jump back in line, and now, much as we did on the outside earlier, on the inside earlier, the field wanted for a moment to single file around the top side as Malarkey guided him there, but now here comes the bottom again, led by Potter. 3 wide. Little got split. Irizarry to the bottom, all the way to the apron. Are they going to go around Potter as well? He brings Everett with him, and now Andrew Little went backwards. Irizarry now the pusher on Potter. Will he try to make the same move? Will he try to go 3 wide, or will he push the 94? He may take a look to the inside, Everett to the outside behind this long train of cars as Malarkey continues to look in his mirror and see nothing but clean track in front of him and nothing but a hornet's nest behind him. 86 laps to go. These will go very quickly. Now the field has transitioned back down. You see Malarkey's brought these top 4 or 5 cars down to the inside and riding right along that white and red line as they were earlier in the race. So for a moment they went to the top side of the safer barrier, and now they go back down to the inside along the white and red line. Everett will try to jump in front of Modesty. Nowhere to go for Brandon Beauchamp, who will be stuck out there on the outside line. Irizarry went out there with him now in that 14, but they're not going to be able to get much going without a ton of help. Not a lot of guys have to go up there right now. As we get closer to the end of this race, they definitely will. And as we reach a bit of a green flag period now, it's going to be important to note, if we get to a green flag pit stop, this pit entry is very unique. It's not like Daytona and Talladega, where you come off turn 4 and you start to lift about 100 feet onto the straightaway and you bring the car down to speed. You've got to bring the car down to almost pit speed on the backstretch here going into turn number 3. Now, you don't really have a speed limit as much as you can push it on the apron of 3 and 4, but you obviously don't want to do too much or you'll risk coming back up on the racetrack, and that incurs a black flag if you leave that upper white line on the pit entry. It's a commitment violation, and you can incur a penalty for that. So, obviously, you don't want to do that if you're a driver. You want to make that commit speed, but you want to make as fast of a trip to pit road as you possibly can. It's just very unique compared to other tracks. Contact between Velocity and Everett. They both keep it straight. About 4 cars deep in the field. Justin Malarkey, as dominant as we've seen a driver in this series, as dominant I've seen a driver at Atlanta in a long time in terms of the effort he's putting on right now. This is really impressive stuff. From the 73 of Malarkey, some jockeying out back, though. It was right around Rusty Modesty, and now Modesty has spun it, and he's going to come back up and incur a caution here. Right there as the caution flag is thrown. And really, you might ask, why did he sit on track? That's because his left rear wheel has broken. And he's going to have to tow it right to pit road. And no fast repair aboard Modesty's machine. I don't think that may be a night over and done with for the 6 machine. Let's take a look at what happened to bring out the 3rd caution of the night. Again, there was some jockeying back here on this 8th position. And again, it's a similar look to what we saw. It's a move to the inside on the dog leg. And, oh, big hit there. It's a big hit to the inside on the dog leg. Or it's a move to the inside that goes awry. And unfortunately, this time it's Modesty that ends up on the wrong end of it. As Irizarry lunged 3 wide as we got into the quad oval. Got to the inside of Modesty, and you'll see it right here. You see where exactly Irizarry wants to go. He's been running the apron and the dog leg. Actually, it's not as severe when you look at that angle as I thought it was. Big hit right there, a tank slap for Rusty Modesty. But certainly not where you want to end up in the quad oval. So initially, I kind of thought this was a bit more of a drastic move, kind of like the ones we saw earlier in the night where there was a big move to the inside and it was kind of already there. This one, it doesn't develop quite as much, and I almost wonder if maybe Irizarry's lifting. Oh, yeah, there's fire out of the pipes. Irizarry's on the brakes. And unfortunately, just can't get on him quick enough. And Modesty spins to the inside. And tries to corral it. He's going back and forth on the wheel, but at this point as a driver, you realize you're not going to save it, and he is going to slap the inside wall flush with the left side. And comes to a stop on the banking. And again, you might have asked, well, why is Rusty Modesty sitting on the racetrack trying to bring out a caution a la Carson Hocevar at Talladega back in 2022? Well, when he starts to drive away, you'll see exactly why. There was not much option for the 6 car, and that's because the left rear tire, at least, if not the whole rear axle, was completely busted on that car, and there was nothing that Rusty Modesty could do as he tried to get it fired and off the racetrack to avoid bringing out a caution. There's nothing he can do there. Unfortunate for the driver of the 6, as his night will likely be all but over at this point in the race. Lap 53 will go back under the green flag. 78 laps to go, approaching halfway very quickly here on this Tuesday night. And again, I want to thank everybody who has come out, joined us for the show. Hope you'll stick around, join us for the remainder of the race, and then go check out Ron Morris Racing's Tuesday Night Thunder after this broadcast is concluded with Michael Triscaro. And actually, Ron Morris is going to join him on the call, so good to see those two, and good to see that series back. It's a fun group of drivers. It's going to be a fun season tonight in the Tuesday Night Thunder series, and can't wait to get that one back underway for the first time again tonight in a couple of months. It's been a while. Tonight it comes back and gets started once again. That series is going to be the Craftsman Trucks tonight at Talladega. A 60-lap race coming up with qualifying at 10:10, so hopefully this race will be completed by that point. And you can go and check out Ron Morris Racing's Tuesday Night Thunder once this one is over. Another pitch shake-up. Christian Strader, Harold Watkins on the front row. Steve Potter, John Velocity on row 2. Then it's Andrew Little and Justin Malarkey, who's led all but a few laps of this race, looking to get back to the front. He's going to have to come from 6th position on this one. Green flag back in the air. It's a huge restart for Strader, and he jumps immediately to the bottom with Harold Watkins. Velocity comes with him. Potter kind of left in no man's land as he awaits some help from out back from Little. Malarkey has no help on the outside, and all of a sudden the dominant car of the day is going the wrong direction here at Atlanta. He's restarted 6th. He's already back to 7th. He may lose 8th here to Coytrone in turn 3. And Malarkey faces some adversity now in the middle stages of this race. It's all Christian Strader up front. One of the final 4 drivers from a season ago. Goes to the point with Harold Watkins, last week's winner, already locked into the playoffs. Right on his back bumper. Not much to lose per se. You want to keep momentum. And obviously regular season points and playoff points as well to get into the playoff system if you're Watkins. But a lot of the pressure is gone now that you've got that win under your belt. And so Watkins up to second now is able to race without much abandon here at the front of the field. Move for fourth. It was Matt Hayden, but he does not have much help and not much is going to be willing to go with him until right now. Andrew Little jumps out there, and now the recovery train is on for Matt Hayden. He used his fast repair earlier after the left rear tire was not spinning, and now he's coming to the front. Close call back around Steve Potter as he rejoined the racetrack, but no harm, no foul there. Ooh, Brandon Beauchamp in the wall right in front of Justin Malarkey, who continues to go the wrong way. He's back to 10th and may lose 11th right here to Irizarry. May lose 10th, to Irizarry. Justin Malarkey dominated the opening 50 laps of this one and now is wedged back in traffic outside the top 10. Strader, Watkins, Velocity, Hayden working very well up front right now as the field will work 75 laps to go. And about 10 short of halfway. All these guys except Watkins, every one of these cars on track except for the Harold Watkins machine is looking for their first win of the season. Only one race. Watkins won both Daytona races, if you want to put it that way. One points paying and one not points paying. And Watkins won both of them. Malarkey settles in 9th position behind Andrew Little, as far back as he has been at this point in the race. And Strader continues to lead, and we single out back to about 8th position. That's where Andrew Little brings the top lane back to life with Justin Malarkey, as they try to get back forward, but they can't get anybody to commit to it. And as such, they can't get much higher than about 8th position. Now the push up front gets a little bit weaker, and now they'll start to make some ground as they're inside the top 6 for Andrew Little, about to break into the top 5 past Steve Potter. And now they start to make up ground, and Beauchamp says, I want on board with that as well. I'm going to try to make my way forward. Into the top 5 comes Andrew Little. For a brief moment, at least, he was there off of turn number 2. And Matt Hayden says, okay, I see the train coming. I want to be a part of it. To the outside of Velocity goes the 5 of Matt Hayden. And back to 2x2, and this is just going to bring Malarkey closer to the front. Watkins jumps high. Strader tried to cover it, could not. Run is going to be too big. He still has an opportunity here if he wants to cover that move here off turn number 2. He's got to do it right now. And will he block here halfway down the backstretch? No, he will stay put on the red line, and Harold Watkins will pull alongside him in the 3, or will he? He gets alongside the 84, but can't get to the right rear of the 29, and now kind of stalls that line out again. Here comes another run from the outside at the line. Gives Strader that lap. 70 to go, but here comes Harold Watkins, and the field races 2x2, 5 rows deep here at the front. Watkins on the outside, Strader on the inside. Hayden pushing on the back of Watkins. Velocity is the push for Strader. Watkins noses in front for a moment. Strader will come right back on the bottom, the shorter way around this 1.5-mile oval. But Watkins this time, I think, will prevail, and as they come down to get lap 62, Harold Watkins is your new leader and clears down to the red line. Let's see if he tries to bring Matt Hayden with him. He will bring Hayden with him on entry to 1. That will close up for the 5. Watkins starts to think about moving down. Hasn't done it yet. Continues to stay along the safer barrier. They've got Andrew Little, Justin Malarkey, GT Irizarry, and now Stephen Luttrell with them. As Watkins is very much in control of the race. Oh, man, Velocity caught the apron, got up into Andrew Little. That was almost another big moment. Would have been a big incident. 68 to go. Watkins continuing to lead. The points leader coming into tonight, looking to leave with the points lead and a second win under his belt. Everybody else trying to get locked into the playoffs, especially headed into a race next week where who knows what will happen in COTA. We are headed to Circuit of the Americas next week. We'll follow the Cup schedule on through the middle of the season as the field continues to race 2x2. 67 laps remain at Atlanta. We'll continue to follow the Cup Series schedule as it runs. Circuit of the Americas up next week. Phoenix, Las Vegas, Homestead coming up. Martinsville, Darlington, Bristol. An off week. Talladega, Texas, and Kansas wraps up the regular season. 2 playoff races in the round of 16 at North Wilkesboro and Charlotte. 2 playoff races in the round of 8, Nashville and Michigan. And the Season 1 championship race will be at Pocono. So that's the first half of the year. The second half of the year will feature the second half of the schedule. Atlanta, Chicago Street Course, Sonoma, Dover, Indy, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Richmond, Daytona, Darlington, Gateway, Bristol, New Hampshire, Kansas, and then the playoffs will feature the Roval, Las Vegas, Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix, and then a Final Four event a week after the second Phoenix race will essentially be the Final Four from each season. We'll crown the grand champion of Challenger Cup Series in 2025, and that race will be back here at Atlanta on the old 2008 configuration with the tire grinding pavement. And boy, I cannot wait for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, while I was yapping about the schedule, Justin Malarkey drove all the way to the lead and now is back in control here at Atlanta at the halfway mark. He's led almost every lap tonight, took some time just inside the top 10, and now is back out front with the push of Christian Strader. On the outside, Watkins, Hayden continue to chip away. Andrew Little is there as well. GT Raziri, Luttrell on the outside, Potter, Beauchamp on the inside. Coitrone, Everett make up the remainder of the lead pack. Martino and Fitzmaurice have lost the draft. Rusty Modesty sits on pit road. Cody McCormick and Greg Burbanier have called it an evening here just outside the halfway mark. Only 2 cars retired. 14 still on the lead, lap 12 in the lead pack. Back down into turn number 3, Malarkey leads, but now he's got a stiff challenge here from Watkins and Hayden, but Strader has picked up the mantle of pusher really well here on the inside second in line in the Reese's Mustang. He's done a good job so far of keeping Malarkey out front despite the challenge from the 3 and the 5. So far, Malarkey continuing to lead, and we get to a point now where you start to think about that first pit stop under green flag conditions. You see the commit line there on the backstretch. That orange box is your commit cone of sorts. You got to be inside that box when you come to pit road to complete your service. And again, there is no speed limit down there, but you obviously don't want to take it too fast, or you'll be in for a world of hurt when you inevitably come back up on track, either in front of other cars or lose control of your own car or get a penalty. Perhaps multiple of those outcomes. So you want to get on pit road quickly, but you want to manage your risk and keep the car down underneath you as well. 59 laps to go at Atlanta. Still 2x2 up front, but it's kind of stalled out. Watkins and Malarkey are side by side for the lead, and it's stayed that way here for about the last 10 laps. Watkins drives all the way, almost clear of the lead. Let's see if he drops down. Nope, he'll stay put as Malarkey drives back alongside him. Watkins now will get another opportunity, but not for long. Again, the bottom surge is back. Christian Strader doing a really nice job again as the pusher right now on that bottom side of the racetrack. But now that lack of help from Velocity starts to get to him, and now Watkins is well clear of the inside. Hayden almost got clear. You imagine they might have gone down if they'd both gotten it, but they don't. And stay up along the safer barrier field, about to lap by Jimmy Fitzmaurice to put him one lap down. Not far behind him will be Mike Martino. 3 wide for a moment. The field's got to work this carefully. Down into turn 3, a bit of a chaotic point of the racetrack, but everybody giving enough room, and the lead cars will work right on by that lap machine of Fitzmaurice. You saw Martino on the apron. Both those cars now 1 lap down. 12 cars remain on the lead lap. Next time by 55 laps to go. Watkins Malarkey continue to trade the lead up at the front of the field. Matt Hayden, the pusher on the outside, the Oakley Chevrolet. As he continues to do good work, and now they've got help from Andrew Little as well. The outside has started to really get something cooking here, but Strader's done a good enough job to keep Malarkey out front briefly. Enough to keep that line from getting cycled backwards. And allowing those 4 cars on the outside to clear down in front of them, take away some of their track position. Malarkey back to the lead. .54 laps to go, and now we start to approach the territory of how many pit stops are you actually going to need in this race. So we went back green. Back on lap. I think we went back to green with about, I can't even remember, about 80 laps to go. They've gone quite a ways on this run. It's kind of my point, and it kind of begs the question now, are they on a one-stop strategy? I kind of wonder how much fuel is aboard these race cars, if it's going to be 1 pit stop or if it's going to be 2. And these guys just continue to tick off laps here at the front. And that gets them closer to being able to make it on just 1 round of green flag service. And that makes that 1 round, even if it's 2, it makes it really important. So we'll have to wait and see here if it's 1 stop or if it's 2. If it's 1, it's crucial that you're good on that pit stop. You will not get another chance on pit road to make up for your mistake. A penalty, a slide through your box, a mistake on exit, anything you do wrong on pit road will be magnified, even in a 2-stop race. In terms of the consequences you'll have to incur, that'll be your only opportunity on pit road, and it could be the difference between being in contention for the win and being completely out of this race. Field is singled out now. That outside line has lost a lot of steam over the past 5 laps or so. Watkins drops down. Hayden, Little will follow suit. The field singles out and now begs the question. Our pit stops approaching. Luttrell on the outside by himself. Our pit stops getting close to approaching here to where now the field starts to single out. But right as I say that, Irizarry and Coitron jump to the outside. Now you maybe think they are not getting close. Back straightaway again, still single file, top 5, make it top 6, back to Brandon Beauchamp. And then it's Luttrell, Irizarry, and Coitron that were on the outside, but no headway as they tried to make their way forward. Still no pit stops. We await the first green flag service of this race inside of 50 laps to go now. 48, make it 47 at the line. And notably, this is something we also did not see in the NASCAR Cup Series this weekend on Sunday either. We saw it last year, But if I recall correctly, we did not see any this year in the Sunday race in terms of using that newer pit road line on the backstretch. Enough cautions came out in stages 2 and 3, or timely cautions came out where you could come and get fuel under caution, and you would not have to endure a green flag pit stop cycle. Last year we weren't quite as lucky. In both races we had green flag pit stops. This race appears to be trending in the same direction as last year's NASCAR races here at Atlanta, and that's that we may have green flag pit stops coming up here anytime. I mean, it would be very shortly. A little bit of trouble out back around Steve Potter. He has struggled with the handling of that race car, back in 4th position as Watkins works underneath him. But everybody gets it sorted out. Potter jumps back in line 5th in front of Irizarry. There's not a ton going on right now. The field is singled out. 45 laps to go in Atlanta. Trouble. Steve Potter and GT Irizarry. Can they save it? Yes, they can. Huge saves from those two cars. Holy cow. Right as I said, not much going on. I went to look at my timing and scoring. This incident almost results in chaos for some of the field. And it may very well break up the pack if they can't get locked back together. These three cars are, but the Potter, Little, Coitron, and Irizarry machines are not. And that's going to change some things here as it comes to pit stops. They are trying everything they can out back with Hayden, Everett, and Potter to get back with the field. They are going to maintain the draft. Irizarry, Coitron, and Little looks like they will keep it as well. And once they get tagged back on to the back of that group, that's going to just make this job even easier for these cars to get back in the lead draft. But how long will it take, and will the pit stop come before that? No takers down the backstretch, back into 3. Next time by, 42 laps to go. And now I think we're getting into the range of, okay, I think it's only going to be one more pit stop or maybe a very short second one. But I don't see this being any more than a 2-stop race. Top 5 work along the bottom of the racetrack, an 8/10 gap. Now they'll have pit stops. Here come the leaders to this new pit line. They'll all make the line, but will they all make the commit here? Malarkey, Strader, everybody's good so far. Watkins, Hayden, Luttrell, Everett, Beauchamp, Irizarry, and Potter. Ooh, a little bit wide for Brandon Beauchamp, but he gets it back underneath him. Velocity, this is a tough position to be in. No help. He's going to have to really eat on entry here to try to get with those guys on exit. As Little and Coitron will run another lap. Velocity really quick through this turn 3 sector. He is really goosing it through there. Trying to make up the time he just lost, going an extra lap. Little and Coitron stay out. 40 laps to go. New leader, Andrew Little. But only until he makes his pit stop, which could be the last one of the race. It'll be very close. These two, you'd imagine, would make their stops this time by. And they will. Oh, boy. Look out if you're James Coitron. These guys have to do a little bit of work here on the apron as well. And they do. Really good work there from Little and Coitron to gain time that they lost as well. Malarkey is by himself. And obviously will not stay that way. Velocity just now coming off pit road. Malarkey will pass him, but I don't know if Watkins and Strader will pass him. Here comes Malarkey. And actually, Velocity will come out in front. Malarkey will have the speed to his back bumper. Next two cars are on their way. Matt Hayden is in a bit of no man's land back here and losing time. We may very well be down to 4 cars Unless something happens here, unless another pit stop is needed. 39 laps to go. Coitron and Little will be driven past on the exit of pit lane, or will they? Andrew Little will, but James Coitron is going to inherit the race lead, if not for a moment. Off pit road, a really good stop by the 38. Now let's see if we can hold on to the draft. It's going to be really close. These four not very together. At the absolute least, going to be a couple helper cars for Matt Hayden as he tries to make his way back up, or will it? Coitron is not able to hold on to the draft, and it's 4 cars now. So 4 cars out front with 38 to go, and now, I mean, you want to talk about a lull, that's about would be what we are in for a while. Velocity, Malarkey, Watkins, and Schrader are in your what has now become the lead pack. James Coitron awaits the arrival of Matt Aiden and Andrew Little as they want to get their ground back made up. Travis Everett and GT Irizarry approach from behind as they try to catch the Matt Hayden group. And all these groups can get together. They may be able to run down the leaders, but this group's going to start to lose time as Coitron is swallowed up by Hayden and Little. These 2 cars are going to start to lose a little bit of time. So the second group is Coitron, Hayden, and Little. The third is Everett and Irizarry. Then Steve Potter is 6 seconds back of GT Irizarry. Brandon Beauchamp is even further back. He's 9 seconds back of Potter. And Mike Martino, you just saw him come off pit road. He is a lap down, actually 2 laps down. Stephen Luttrell is 3 laps down in the 82. Due to that issue we saw earlier, perhaps even an issue on pit road. Now, it should be noted that group with Coitron, Hayden, and Little picked up just a little bit of time that time by. And they continue to pick up some time. They've cut 2, 3, 4 tenths off the gap here in 1 and 2. And they're less than a second from draft range. That would bring 3 more cars into the battle for the win. They're now 2 seconds from draft range. Not even. They're about to be in the draft. This group is doing really incredible work. And they are within the draft. Matt Hayden and Andrew Little and James Coitron take a bow. They are back in the race as they are within the range of the draft of Christian Schrader and that lead draft. So 4 make it 7 cars for the lead in this main group that is up front. At the line, 33 laps to go, perhaps 1 pit stop left. We'll have to wait and see what the fuel load is for these race cars. Luttrell has caught on as well. He is 3 laps down, but does add an extra car for a run for the win for any one of these race cars. Actually, he's just going to drive right to the front. Is there some fuel saving going on, or are we replicating the Atlanta race from Sunday? Because Luttrell is driving by all these lead lap cars and doing so at a rather easy pace with no help. Malarkey is actually going to catch the 82. Will he try to jump around Velocity? He will. And he'll get it. And Travis Everett and Justin Malarkey have jumped up front, and they've caught the pack. There is fuel saving ongoing. Folks, we've entered a strategy race now. Triple digits on the board, and our strategies are all over the place right now. And Everett and Irizarry say either number 1, they don't want to fuel save and get it from a racer's perspective, understandably, or number 2, they do not have enough fuel. And now what they're going to try to do is push the pace and force Velocity and others, as Velocity gets split, they're going to try to force these cars to run faster than they want to, and maybe everyone will be short. This is quickly becoming an enthralling end to this one from Atlanta. 29 to go at the line, and I have no idea at this point if anybody is good on fuel or if anybody will be. 29 laps to go. Travis Everett is your new leader. Justin Malarkey is all over this racetrack trying to make moves. And look, they're still pushing the pace, and now the leaders, they've realized, okay, if we're going to keep up with these guys, we got to go. You could still save, but if you lose too much time, even if these front two pit, they'd be so far in front, they'd be able to pit, do their service, and come back out unscathed. The leaders have to keep up with them, and they will do just that. As Watkins pokes through to third. Velocity goes back to fourth with Little. Malarkey is still stuck. He can't get anybody to go with him as Hayden goes alongside the bottom. Malarkey actually jumps in front of Matt Hayden. As now they single out up front, but not nearly as much saving going on here at the front of the field as there was a moment ago. As Everett and Irizarry push the pace. 27 to go at the line. This is as good as it gets. Strategy, decision making. When do I go? When do I wait? When is the right time to make the move? Brandon Beauchamp will go a lap down as he caught some bad luck on the pit stop. It leaves, I believe, 10 cars on the lead lap. And it will be back to Steve Potter, who will also go one lap down before this race is over. 9 cars in the lead pack, all with a chance to win it. 26 to go at Atlanta as fuel saving or a lack thereof continues. And we await a potential final pit stop. When we come back around, it is only 25 laps to go, and they're 30-second laps. There's not a lot of time if you're a driver to make a decision here. Several guys will make a choice, and they'll stick to it. And they'll just wait and see how it pans out. But with 25 to go, the fuel question is up in the air for the top 9. With this opportunity, the whole field singled out. We're going to go side-by-side. Final commercial break of the evening. We'll try to take it as quickly as possible, but again, you will not miss a moment. 24 to go in Atlanta. Travis Everett leads. A barn burner coming to a close in the Peach State.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got paddles.
The monkey has prime!
This season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. 18 laps to go. And now, as we come back, another trend. Irizarry has way bailed off the throttle. Fuel saving continuing in Atlanta. And now the 14 has realized, okay, I can't make it. He's going to get turned. Watkins got into him. Irizarry rejoins. Watkins in the middle. Big move. Coytrone, top to bottom to middle. Coytrone all over the racetrack. Little to the lead. As Everett and Irizarry quickly realize they don't have enough gas to go the distance. 17 to go. Maybe these guys have now saved enough. Malarkey trying to get something going. He's been the dominant car of the night. Andrew Little to the lead. Coytrone in second, and Watkins looking to go 2 for 2, 3 for 3 even in Challenger Cup Series competition. Steve Potter goes 1 lap down. Couple cars towards the back of this pack. Aiden Schrader, Velocity, Malarkey all trying to start to formulate their moves and also save enough gas to make it. And Irizarry may be preventing that move from being made. He may be checking those guys up, trying to save a little bit of gas, and they're not trying to let him do that. 16 laps to go. Little, Coytrone, they're trying to drive away. They're trying to break the field and perhaps race this thing out amongst themselves, and I don't think they'll do that. But back around Irizarry, he continues to save a lot of fuel. Now he's starting to go again, though, and he'll get back up here to Travis Everett, his teammate from last week, and they'll try to get something going as those cars out back start to formulate a bit of a run. Try to figure out, okay, how am I going to go win this race? What can I do? 15 more circuits around Atlanta. A barn burner tonight. It's had a little bit of everything. Crashes, good racing strategy, pit stops. Everything a race fan could want. Every type of race fan has enjoyed tonight's race, and still a long ways to go to find a winner. Andrew Little's led a few laps tonight, but has not been a very dominant car. That's really been Justin Malarkey. Christian Schrader had a period as well where he was out front, so did Harold Watkins. But really, it's been all Malarkey in terms of dominance. And this Everett group with Schrader side drafting, that's not going to help this group at all. They need to get back in line as a group and run back down these leaders, or they're in dangerous territory here. 7/10 back, still losing time. And Schrader being on their door does not help. This is not helping their case in the slightest. It's pulling Irizarry backwards and allowing that front group to drive away. And now they're almost going to drive all the way away from this group and maybe 3 cars that remain to contest this race. And this group is in a really bad spot now, either on fuel or otherwise. 13 laps to go. Little, Coytrone, and Watkins are driving away. Coming to pit road, Travis Everett is the first to bail. He led a lot of that period with Irizarry, so that may make a little bit of sense. Little, Coytrone, Watkins, and now you begin to watch, okay, now when does the rest of the field make the move to pit road? 8 cars with 12 to go. Does anybody try to gamble and stretch it? Down the back straightaway. No more pit stops. Everybody's staying out on track. And that second group is still not gaining any time. In fact, they're losing time again. And it's because GT Irizarry is continuing to have to save fuel. Behind the 84 Velocity, these 3 cars up front are lined up nose to tail, tucked in, and are not having to engage in fuel saving. And the cars back there, specifically that 14, is what's holding up that second group. Now Coytrone way off. This group behind him will gain a little bit of time as they're pushing a little harder. But not much. Couple hundredths. Not even that. They're going to be out of draft range here momentarily. They've got to start to go a little more than they are right now, or they're not even going to be in the conversation. Down the backstretch again, 10 laps to go, still no pit stops. Bit of a gain from Schrader out back off the bumper of Velocity. Got him back within about a second, but Irizarry is 8 car lengths off the back of Schrader. But these two cars are now starting to go. Schrader and Velocity, if they decided they've got enough. 9 laps to go. You're tapping the fuel gauge if you're in one of these race cars. Do I have enough? Can I flip it to the reserve? I don't have reserve switches, but you get the idea. Do I have enough left in the tank to make it back on fumes? Schrader and Velocity are here and here in a hurry as the leaders perhaps now are fuel saving. 8 laps to go. Here comes Irizarry, Hayden, and Malarkey back into the pack as well. 8 cars to settle it from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Watkins looking to go 3 for 3 in the season. Everybody else looking to lock their way to the playoffs and secure playoff points for later on in the year. Off turn 4, Little continues to lead 7 more times around Atlanta. Just over 10 miles to go. Can you get 10 miles out of your fuel tank? Off turn 2, another look to pit road. Will anybody take the left turn? Oh no, a peak, but no takers. Winding back around turn number 4 and back to the start-finish line. 6 laps to go at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Andrew Little leads. Back into turn number 1. Again, we will watch as they work off turn number 2. Will anybody make the turn left to pit road? Irizarry's got to be really close. The 14 is the one I'm watching here to be the first one to turn off the racetrack. He again starts to fuel save. In front of Matt Hayden, and at one point for Hayden, do you bail and realize you're not going to have a look at the race if you stay behind that Motorcraft Ford Mustang? Top 4 are clear, or top 5 are clear by 3/10 over Irizarry again as he continues to fuel save. Off turn 2, 5 laps to go. Down the backstretch, anybody turning left? No, sir. 6 more miles when they make it to the start-finish line. Where does the fuel mileage sit for these cars in this front pack? 4 to go for Little, and now your focus turns from the fuel gauge to the guys behind you and the move to win the race. Where and when do you make that move? Irizarry jumps in behind a lap car now. He is really desperate here. Coming back, 3 laps to go. It'll be under 5 miles. And Irizarry continues to drop off the field. They're going to have to go if they want to maintain the draft. They got to pick the pace back up. They're over 1.1 seconds back. 3 laps to go. Car to the outside is Brandon Beauchamp, but just taking the run. Not much he can do with it there. Off turn number 2, down the backstretch again. 3 laps to go. Anybody diving to pit road? No. A switch out back as Hayden says, I gotta go. And Irizarry, that may very well be a death wish for him as he tries to save fuel, will be unable. 2 laps to go. Coitron the move to the outside. Beauchamp takes him 3 wide the lap car. Coitron going to lose some ground. Watkins going to be in prime position, but a tight window here in turn 1 between the leaders. We make it back to the white flag. This race is official. What does John Velocity do? What does Christian Schrader do? Matt Hayden and Justin Malarkey are not out of this thing yet either. Through turns 3 and 4, Coitron continues to side draft. If those 2 cars out back are going to take the run, they're going to have to go now to the outside. Here comes Matt Hayden back to the start-finish line. White flag, 1 lap to go in Atlanta. Hayden rim riding to the fence. 4 wide in turn 1. Coitron, oh, trouble. Hayden's up on his side. He's out of it. Watkins to the lead. Schrader's going to have a look at him in the 29. He's going to have to back up. He's going to have to get the run. He's going to have to go for it here on entry. He'll take a peek. Velocity goes with him. Can he grab the right rear? He can. Off turn 4, they're going to drag race. Velocity to the apron. Can he make up enough ground? He cannot. Christian Schrader wins it at Atlanta. in a thrilling finish. You worried about fuel mileage in the end. They clearly had enough, and they duked it out. At one point, even 4 wide into turn number 1. And at the end of the day, Christian Strader wins the race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway and will burn it down on the front stretch. His first win of season number 1 here in 2025. And he has locked his way into the Challenger Cup Series playoffs at the end of this first season. So we'll allow him a moment to celebrate. We'll go back and watch a replay of the last lap here in a moment. If Christian Strader is going to celebrate, doesn't look like it's kind of odd. No donuts for Christian Strader. A sight I've seen many times in Christian Strader's sim racing career that I've been a part of. The donuts are traditional for him, and we'll continue to have this standoff here in the broadcast booth. And wow, no donuts. So the Ryan Blaney strategy for Christian Strader in this one. And Strader will opt to not do the victory donuts. Let's go back and take a look at the white flag lap, and it had about everything you could have wanted out of a white flag lap. So let's go up top, and I want to show you this 4 wide move. I think Watkins actually made a move. I'm not sure I saw it. I was so focused on Matt Hayden. Ooh, Little actually blocks Watkins to the apron, and I think Watkins just turns left. I was so transfixed on Hayden and Malarkey going to the fence that I didn't notice Watkins turns left and puts 2 tires on the apron, and for a brief moment, we are 4 wide, but at Atlanta, doesn't really work. Little bounces off of Coytrone. They are actually going to make contact again. That's going to shoot Coytrone to his right. Hayden runs out of room, ramps up the wall. Malarkey gets enough of a piece that he's not in this anymore. Hayden up on his side. Coytrone collected along with him. And then it was all the way back down to the line. And tell me if you've seen this image before. Strader gets to the outside and does just enough to grab that right rear. And then, I mean, John Velocity, I want to go back and appreciate this. This is a drastic turn down the hill. I mean, as soon as you're coming off 4 right here, he's going to crank the wheel to the left. Watch how quickly Velocity goes from top to bottom and turns it down the hill and tries to make a run at the shortest distance to the start-finish line. And as NASCAR has done now twice in a row, although this one ended under caution, 3 wide for the race win. And at the end, it's Christian Strader that gets the job done in another classic finish at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll go through your race results, and then we'll hear from your top 3. Stay with us here on PGR eSports Network. You'll get to hear from the top 3 in the race as round 2 at Atlanta is complete. Race results: Christian Strader wins by just over 6/100ths of a second over John Velocity in the 84. Harold Watkins finishes in the 3rd position, a 1st and a 3rd for the driver of the 3. Andrew Little comes home in 4th, a good run for him. Justin Malarkey led a ton of laps. This is not the finish he's going to want in the 5th place finishing position, with GT Irizarry coming home in 6th. He did have enough fuel to make it to the end. James Coytrone goes 7th with Matt Hayden 8th. Travis Everett 9th, who had to bail for fuel with 3 laps to go. Brandon Beauchamp in 10th. Steve Potter 11th. Mike Martino the 3rd in 12th. Stephen Luttrell 13th. Jimmy Fitzmaurice in 14th. Rusty Modesty 15th. Cody McCormick in 16th. Greg Bourbonier in 17th. Those last 5 cars out of the race due to an incident at some point during the night. Stay with us. We're going to go grab your top 3 for some post-race interviews. You will not want to miss this one after a classic finish at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Post-race coverage underway for round 2 of the Challenger Cup Series as Christian Schrader comes away with a victory. And we now work into our top 3 interviews. We'll start with the man on the third step of the podium. Last week's winner in the 3 machine, Harold Watkins, wins the Bud Shootout, wins the opener, and goes third in this one. Led into turn 3, trying to go back-to-back. Cannot do it, but still got to be satisfied with the third place effort and will leave as the points leader. Harold Watkins, it's Dawson Wise up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, boy, another fantastic Atlanta finish this week. A fantastic finish in general. Don't get me wrong, because we've had a few of those now this season. Unfortunately, you're on the wrong end of this one. It kind of everything comes back around. You win a couple good finishes last week and the week before. Tonight, obviously third. Not the results you wanted, but locked in the playoffs already. The win, not as big a deal now. A third-place finish, you're going to leave as the points leader. You led laps. A successful night for you in Atlanta. Take me through it.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, we had a lot of cautions early and didn't know if that trend was going to continue. So I thought, I'm going to try to get up front and run up front as much as possible. And, if I get wrecked, I get wrecked. And, man, in the final stage, leading the laps, I was just sucking fuel. And that scared me a little bit. But luckily had a good stop, got out pretty well, and was able to just kind of ride and save. I mean, I was sitting there running 70 to 50% throttle, just trying to save enough to the end. And I stayed with James and Andrew to try to stay with the lead pack to give myself a chance. And I did that and didn't know if I was going to run out in 3, but tried to block Christian a little bit. And then at that point, I was like, well, I'm not putting us both on the wall. I'm just going to finish and take the points and call it a night.
Well, certainly a good night for you. You're going to leave as the points leader now. And, let's talk about next week for a moment. Circuit of the Americas coming up next Tuesday night. And, a couple weeks of plate racing, and we go down to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's technical. It's road racing for the first time. Take me through your expectations for that racetrack, both for yourself and just for the racing here in the series in general.
Honestly, I have no idea because, we're running the West Circuit. So I don't know how many people are familiar with it. I ran a couple laps, and it does not really agree with this next gen, in my opinion. But maybe they updated the setup, and I think it's going to be a very interesting race, to say the least. I know we have some really good road racers in this. Christian's really good on road racing, and John's really good, and then there's going to be a lot of competition trying to do something. So we'll see. I haven't ran a road course with this group yet, so. Excited to see that.
Well, should be a fun one as we head to our first road course of the year next week. Well, a third place effort for you here tonight. Again, you're going to be leaving most likely as the points leader. So before we let you go, kind of enjoy it and take a breather after another crazy, hectic finish. Go ahead and give your shout outs and thank yous. Anything you'd like to give?
Yeah, shout out to all the admins of Challenger doing what they can to put a great lead together. Had a great 2 races so far. Thank you to you up the booth. Watch the broadcast back and love it. It's awesome. And thanks to my family. And I just want to give a shout out to Christian's grandpa. I know he's in the hospital right now. So just thoughts and prayers to him. And then thanks to everyone out there watching.
Well, thank you for talking to me here for a second. Congratulations on the third place finish. Go enjoy it and go celebrate. We will see you next week at Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Harold Watkins in the 3 machine as he comes home with a third place finish and will leave as the points leader here in the Challenger Cup Series. We'll move now to the man who finished in second position, John Velocity in the 84, a man who's got to be feeling good, headed to, again, something we heard is his strength going forward in the road courses, going forward with a second place finish out of Atlanta. Got to feel pretty good as we head into the meat of the schedule. We'll hear from him now here in just a moment. John, it's Dawson Wise up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, a fun one here tonight, a crazy finish. And, at first I was going to say take me through your night, but I kind of I'm focused on this move off of 4. From the wall to the apron in a very quick maneuver. What's going through your head there coming off of 4? What is your mindset? What led you to make that move? Kind of just take us through, going into 3, you have to make a move. Take us through that scramble to the end.
Yeah, the whole last couple of laps there, I was committed to Christian catching up to the pack again, and we lost him there. And then we got back in line. We had to save a bit of fuel to be able to make it. And then going into the final lap, I was still committed to him. And going into the final turn, I saw him and Harold pretty close to each other. I didn't know if they were going to wash up into the wall. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to go for the Daniel Suarez move. I'm going to hang a left, see what happens, and I'm going to go for it.
Well, you go for it, and I unfortunately do come up short. But again, now as we move forward, and now we get in the meat of the season, we're looking at Circuit of the Americas coming up. We're looking at Vegas and Homestead and tracks like that. Now we got to get past these super speedways and into the more technical racing, shall we say? And a second place finish got to be a good boost at a plate track like this. There's so much uncertainty. It's got to be good to get this boost. So take me through the confidence levels we go forward into specifically Circuit of the Americas next week, but also into the meat of this schedule here in this first season in 2025.
Oh yeah, I'll take the second place tonight, no problem. Especially after last week not having the best result. So to come back here and get a P2, I'm more than happy with. Moving forward, this is I'd say the heart of my skill set coming up. So I'm looking forward to it a lot. I had a lot of success last year on road courses, so Coda is going to be interesting. I know there's a new layout that's going to be tricky to get used to, but I'm looking forward to it. And then you get to my favorites, the Homesteads, the Vegas. Like, this is the exciting part of the year for me, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to it as well. A second place finish for you here tonight in Atlanta. So before we let you go and enjoy it, take a breather after this one here tonight. Any thank yous or shout outs that you'd like to give?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for putting on this broadcast. I mean, you're amazing at what you do. I go back and watch these after the races, and I'm just amazed every time. And you're very good at what you do, so I appreciate you.
I appreciate that, and appreciate you talking to me here for just a moment. And congratulations on the second place finish. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will talk to you next week at Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you.
John Velocity, the second place finisher tonight in the 84, going to bring us the man in victory lane. And quite honestly, and again, kind of on a more personal note, a guy I've been looking forward to talking to, and Christian Schrader, who I've missed a lot more Thursday races than I'd like to, and unfortunately have not gotten an opportunity to talk to these guys that I knew before. So Christian in victory lane going to get an opportunity to talk to him as he's locked in to the Challenger Cup Series playoffs here in Season 1 in 2025. Christian, it's Dawson Wise up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Dawson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and I got to say, it's been a while, and I was just kind of talking about that. It's been a bit since I've gotten a chance to talk to you. Obviously, the Thursday schedule's been a bit awry this season, but nonetheless, tonight, what better opportunity? It's victory lane for you tonight in Atlanta. You're going into 3, you're second, really going into 1. You see 4 wide in front of you. Take me through a hectic last lap, how you got to victory lane here tonight in Atlanta.
We were really tight on fuel. I was worried about running out, and I kind of talked to Harold, and we were willing to make a move to try to win the race, regardless of what the fuel was. So as soon as he pulled down to the bottom, I was like, we'll push him, see what happens, and if I got to 3 and 4 and still had fuel in the tank, and we were pretty clear, I figured we'd try to get a run. You see it. You saw it on Saturday. You saw it in a couple cup races the past few years. Typically, you can kind of get to the outside, get down on them a little bit, and then make them run you up the track, and still have enough run to beat them to the line. So that's kind of what I was trying to do. I felt like going to the outside was probably going to be the better of moves, but I really wasn't sure. Just kind of went where there wasn't cars and hoped that we had enough to make it past the line.
Well, you do have enough, and now, much as Harold Watkins did last week, you're locked into the playoffs. And, going forward, obviously some uncertainty next week at Circuit of the Americas and, the Vegas, the Homestead, the meat of the schedule coming up. But now, before we even get to that, you're locked in the playoffs. It's got to feel good as a driver. Take me through that feeling, but also kind of your confidence level as we get into some of the more technical tracks over the next several weeks.
Yeah, it's always good to be locked in. Now you can kind of just go out, race for wins, be as aggressive as you need to be, and then if anything bad happens, you don't have to worry about it. And then I feel pretty good. I enjoy road course racing. I think that will be an interesting one. Coda's not my best of tracks, and it's also the new course, which I've never ran at. So I'm interested to see kind of how that course layout is and what's changed and how you kind of gonna get around cars there. But once we get into the 1.5 miles and things like that, I feel pretty good about it. Typically have pretty good speed when it comes to 1.5 mile racing and any of those intermediate tracks. We got a few short tracks in the schedule coming up. Not my personal forte, but with being locked in, it's kind of gives me a little free rein to kind of try some things and see if I can't find some extra pace there, or make some moves that will at least put me in position to have a chance to win.
Well, it's a win for you here tonight in Atlanta. The weight is off your shoulders. You're going to go playoff racing later in the season, and you get it out of the way before we even get to Circuit of the Americas next week. Before we let you go and celebrate the victory, are there any thank yous or shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, just a shout-out to Rusty and Matt and Andrew and everybody that puts this together. And then, of course, having you back. I had to get it done one of these weeks because I was like, man, I got to go say hello to Dawson. I haven't talked to him in a while, so I was looking forward to coming up and getting to talk to you. And we appreciate you coming out and broadcasting for us over here on Tuesdays.
Well, fun one tonight in Atlanta ends with you in victory lane. And again, locked into the playoffs. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will see you next week at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I'll see you next week.
Christian Schrader is your winner tonight from the Atlanta Motor Speedway in a barn burner of a race. And again, it had a little bit of everything as we now enter into post-race coverage. And you know, this one had again a little bit of everything. It had some cautions at the beginning. It had some fuel strategy towards the middle stages, some green flag pit stops, some more cautions, some more fuel strategy, a kind of a sweat at the end of who has enough fuel and can you save enough to make a run at the end, and then a classic Atlanta Motor Speedway finish, which this new configuration has really lent itself to over the past few years, both in NASCAR and on the iRacing side as well. It's another great finish, and Christian Schrader is now locked in to the playoffs here in the Challenger Racing League's Challenger Cup Series, Season 1 of 2025, in a 3-wide finish at Atlanta. Next Tuesday night, the series returns with a trip to Austin, Texas, and the Circuit of the Americas, the first road course track of the season. And the West Circuit makes its debut. After NASCAR goes there this weekend, we will make our first run at it on Tuesday night as these drivers take on a brand new format, a brand new layout of Circuit of the Americas, a shorter layout, and one that they're going to have to do some getting used to, it sounds like, from the drivers' perspectives. Should be fun to watch next week here from Circuit of the Americas. And then after that, it's on to the meat of the schedule. It's Phoenix, it's Vegas, it's Homestead. It's the meat tracks of the schedule. Bristol coming up, Talladega coming up. A lot of fun racing ahead in the Challenger Cup Series, and hope you will join me for all of it. Again, we're coming back next week. Head on over to PGR eSports Network, our other stream on our main page. Michael Triscaro, Ron Morris will have you covered there for some Ron Morris Racing Tuesday Night Thunder Series racing as the series returns for another season, season number 5. The trucks at Talladega, it's going to be a lot of fun. Head on over there. That broadcast should be either live now or getting close to it over there as we prepare to open another season. Michael Triscaro, Ron Morris on the call. Now, later on the week here in PGR eSports, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Thursday night PGR Intimidator Super Speedway Series racing, which I believe this week might be the start of March Madness. Let me double check that before I tell you anything. And it will be the first race of the March Madness bracket style tournament that PGR eSports is putting on for the 3rd year in a row. It's going to be a lot of fun. There are, I want to say, 32 drivers involved in that this season. So that's going to be a lot of fun as we go from 32 to 16 to 8 to 4 to 2 and finally to 1 champion of March Madness. It's a fun event every year. It's got some of the best in money racing. You won't want to miss the debut of 2025's March Madness on Thursday night. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's Xfinity Series at Talladega. It's Trucks at Talladega. Xfinity Series is next week. Later on in the week, Jimmy Crow's Super Speedway Kings coming back for another couple of races later on in the week on PGR eSports as well. That had some of the best racing we have seen in a long time on the Super Speedway side. A pair of races this week. One of them, the opening race, the 40-lapper, is on PGR eSports Network at 10:30 on Friday Night Dash for Cash, hosted by Jimmy Crow and the Crow's Nest. So Go check that one out. Again, 4 wide racing for 10 laps plus over on that one on Friday night. Last week, that was a lot of fun to watch. If you did not catch that one, that'll be a lot of fun as well. The Little Dog, Big Dog series from McCullough Motorsports comes back on Sunday as well. A lot of fun racing going on over here at PGR at this time of the year. We're back next week from Circuit of the Americas. Same time, 8:35 here on the PGR eSports Network. We'll have all the coverage from Austin, Texas, as we get into the meat of the schedule, race 3 of the Challenger Cup Series. Christian Strader goes to victory lane in Atlanta and locks himself into the CCS playoffs. And now next week we'll see who is next to lock their way into the 16-driver playoff format. My name is Dawson Wise. You've been watching PGR eSports. For all of those, the Challenger Cup Series.